Hello everyone, a different type of video here and a longer one than usual, but I hope it's a video which you find interesting. So this video is done with an OSINT group on Telegram, Vaishon Intel, who pieced the initial graphics together. This group actually assists the Ukrainian military. So what we're looking at here is the distribution of Russian planes and helicopters active around Crimea by type and the bases that they're stationed at. Vaishon Intel pieced this together using a mixture of satellite imagery of the bases and videos shared showing aircraft taking off and operating from them. Unfortunately, they couldn't share the satellite imagery itself as part of a contract with the provider is basically, to not share it around. So in this video, what I'm going to do is have a closer look at this information. The numbers of aircraft, the types of aircraft, the air bases, the coverage which they provide and that sort of thing. So the air bases, starting from top right and circling clockwise, we have Strelkova, operating 6 Mi-24s and 3 Mi-8s. Zhankoi, operating 4 Su-25 attack aircraft, 10 Kar-52 helicopters, 10 Mi-28 helicopters and 24 Mi-8s. Kurovskoye, operating 5 Su-30s, 5 MiG-29s, 2 Mi-28s and 3 Mi-8s. Belbek, operating 5 Su-35s, 3 Su-34s and 26 Su-27s. So a big airbase there. Kocher, with just one solitary Mi-8 flying from there. Saki, with 8 Su-24s, 13 Su-27s or Su-30s, and 2 MiG-29s. And finally, Gvardoskoye, with 5 Su-24s and 5 Su-27s. So as you can see, there are a lot of aircraft based here in Crimea. Plenty of targets for Ukraine to hit. Now the reason some of these are marked as Su-27 and Su-30 is solely because it's difficult to tell these apart depending on the satellite imagery used. But later on we may get some clues as to which they actually are, but I'll come to that later. Here's a quick table I put together summarising the aircraft types present and their total numbers. This one showing the fast jets. So in total, 26 Su-27s, 13 Su-27s or Su-30s, 13 Su-24s, 7 MiG-29s, 5 Su-30s, 5 Su-34s, 4 Su-25s and 3 Su-34s. So a total of 76 fast jets are based in Crimea. And here, the helicopters. We have 4 types operating here. 31 Mi-8s, 12 Mi-28s, 10 Kar-52s and 6 Mi-24s. A total of 59 helicopters based here. Let's take a closer look at each airbase in general and the flights from here. We're going to start with Strelkova, top right hand corner. Here's Google Maps' view of the settlement. So it's a small settlement with no visible airbase on Google Maps images. So the helicopter base here will be a newly made one, built especially for the war. Russia has done this before, building forward operating bases for its helicopter fleet. Now, unfortunately, the free satellite imagery I have access to ends partway up the town. So I assume this base is just north of there. This one operating Mi-24s and Mi-8s. The Mi-24 is this, a big heavy gunship better known as a Hind. These have a pretty low combat radius of 160 kilometers with a normal loadout. So as seen here, this will be why these are deployed at this forward operating base further north. Any heli bases further south would put the Mi-24 out of range of the front lines. So these can provide close air support around parts of the Kherson region, but not really the key area of the counter-offensive. 6 of these are based here. Here we also have 3 Mi-8 transport aircraft, shown here. These are widely used utility craft of Russia. They can carry 4 tons of cargo and so are a valuable part of Russia's logistical fleet. They have a combat radius of 350 kilometers. As seen here, they can cover a pretty wide area. Now, although these can reach Donetsk, these, given the position in Crimea, will be carrying out transport operations along the southern front and Kherson, as Russia has other air bases featuring Mi-8s covering the east of the country, which have a helicopter stationed there too. So if Ukraine were to target this base, I'd say the Mi-8s are the most important target, as the Mi-24 is rather limited in range and its use is, limited. Given the distance from the front, this base is out of range of HIMARS until GLSDB arrives and ATACMS when it's sent. So soon, this base could find itself in the firing line. Storm Shadow reaches it, but a heli base isn't the right sort of target for a Storm Shadow. Tochka U could hit it, but I'm not sure how many Tochkas Ukraine actually has remaining. We haven't seen a Tochka U launch from Ukraine for a while now, so they may have run out. On to Zhankoi now, one of the major Crimean air bases. Shown here on this Google Maps image, this is officially home to the 39th Helicopter Regiment flying Kar-52, Mi-8, Mi-28 and Mi-35 helicopters. However, Vaishon Intel also show 4 Su-25s based here now. Now, we have seen the long range of the Mi-8, so we know that these will easily be able to cover the front lines around Zaporizhia and Kherson. So I won't retread old ground showing the radius of those. But let's check the Su-25 shown here. Subsonic, twin attack aircraft, widely used by Russia. We see these along with Kar-52 helicopters, providing the bulk of Russia's close air support using rockets. The typical loadout is a pair of rocket pods and external fuel tanks. These external tanks give it a combat range of 750 kilometers. And as you can see, this means they can basically cover the entirety of Ukraine. In reality though, these will be operating solely in the south of the country, providing close air support in and around Zaporizhia and Kherson. This is because Russia has other bases to cover the north and the east, using Su-25s based there. This long range though does allow them to be dispersed potentially further south in Ukraine, and they can even fly from Russian bases in Russia itself in Krasnodar. So if Ukraine gets weapons such as ATACMS which can hit them, I wouldn't actually be surprised if when ATACMS is confirmed to be in use, to see these Su-25s move to Krasnodar, as we can still cover the front line from here, just with a longer flight time to get to target. And ATACMS hasn't been authorised, and I doubt it will be authorised, to hit Russian soil itself. Mi-28 is also known as the Havoc, a type of attack helicopter. These have a combat radius of 200 kilometers with 10 minutes loitering time to carry out attacks. 10 are based here. The radius is shown here, so these are helicopters providing close air support around the Kherson region. They won't really reach the area of a counter-offensive from here, the short range of these rather limiting their use. Now, the Kar-52, Russia's main attack helicopter, we see these operating a lot in Ukraine. The 10 base here can provide close air support all over Kherson and the region of the counter-offensive. And Russia does use these during the counter-offensive using missiles and rockets. Now, there are a lot of these on Oryx at the moment, 44 listed so far. Russia only had 116 airframes, but an unknown number have been sent. But it's clear that the Kar-52 fleet can't continue sustaining high losses as it will be getting stretched now. This is good news for Ukraine, because as we saw, Russia's other attack helicopters behind and Havoc lack the combat radius this does. So if Ukraine could keep nibbling away at Russia's Kar-52 fleet, forcing them to use these other shorter range attack helicopters instead, it is going to limit the effectiveness of Russia's close air support operations. Russia does use these quite well, using Elmyor missiles to hit Ukrainian armour in Zaporizhia. Next up, Kirovskaya, shown here to fly Su-30, MiG-29, Mi-28 and Mi-8 helicopters. Now first, the Mi-28. At the past airbase, we saw its short range, so I think these ones here are reserve ones, likely rotating out with the ones at Zhankoi, as the Mi-28s here just can't reach the front lines from here. They don't serve much of a purpose. However, Russia does use Mi-28s as sort of makeshift fighter jets to target drones, so that could also be their position here, to hit impact drones heading towards the Crimean Bridge. Let's have a look now at the Su-30 and the MiG-29, 5 of each are based here. Now the airbase itself shown here, it's actually a flight test centre, but Russia has deployed aircraft here turning into an active base for the war. Check the location zoomed out, west of the Crimean Bridge. The fighter jets here, providing air defence for that to try and intercept drones and missiles targeting the bridge. The jets here are the Su-30, a relatively modern fighter introduced in the 1990s, designed for air-to-air missions. It has a combat radius of 1,500 kilometers, so more than capable of covering the front lines, although, given its location, I expect this aircraft's main role to be to cover the Crimean Bridge. But as it's a modern aircraft, I wouldn't be surprised if these don't also cover the front lines and fly combat missions over Ukraine itself too. 5 MiG-29s are deployed here. These are relatively outdated fighters. These may have been deployed here because of high losses of other Russian aircraft. These can carry out the air coverage role behind the front lines around the Crimean Bridge, which is relatively low risk of interception, freeing up more modern aircraft to take part flying combat missions in Zaporizhia and Kherson itself. However, the bulk of Russian aircraft losses are attack aircraft and strike aircraft, Su-25s, Su-24s and Su-34s. But that doesn't account for aircraft fatigue. So despite that, I do think it probable these MiGs may indicate the Russian Air Force is being stretched a bit, from a combination of losses and also aircraft operating for well over a year now of war and needing regular maintenance and downtime. And remember, Russia needs to not only cover Crimea, but the eastern front as well, and also towards the north, protecting cities even such as Moscow and Kursk from potential drone attacks. It's a wide area to cover. Let's move on. A big base here, Belbek, and you can spot on this graphic a significant number of aircraft are here. 5 Su-35s, 3 Su-34s and 26 Su-27s. Let's start with the Su-27. It's a 4th generation fighter entering service in the 80s, designed basically as a rival of the F-15. These we've seen in use during the Ukraine war, but not over Ukraine's mainland. These we see patrolling around the Black Sea. It was a Su-27 which buzzed US Reaper drones, and they've been seen engaging Ukrainian boats too. These patrol quite a ways out from Sevastopol too, hinting at a lack of long-range SAM coverage along that stretch of Ukrainian coast, and a lack of fighter threats from Ukraine in this area. However, it is possible that now that Ukraine has regained the Boyka Towers, that we may see the Su-27 patrols over the Black Sea limited because of the threat of manpads and SAMs positioned there. These have a combat radius of 1,500 kilometers, so as you can see here, easily capable of covering the Black Sea with a regular patrol route. If ATACMS is sent and the airfield dispersed, these could again likely fly from Russia itself to carry out patrols. The other aircraft base at Belbek are the Su-35 and the Su-34. You might remember the Su-35 as being impaled on Russia's own sword not long ago. An S-300 battery shooting one down in a friendly fire incident. And there was another not too long after. So 2 of the Su-35's base here have been destroyed in recent weeks. The Su-35 is this, a multi-role fighter. Russia uses these flying air defense missions around Zaporizhia and the front lines mainly. It's a bit of a surprise to see just 5 base here. I would have thought more would be deployed to this region, given it's the most active theatre of the war, and Su-35 is Russia's most modern fighter. They have 118 in service. I expect the 2 deployed from here, have been replaced since with airframes from elsewhere, or are going to be replaced. With a combat radius of 1,000 kilometers or thereabouts, these can easily cover the Zaporizhia and Kherson fronts. And as well as providing air defense, these are used by Russia to drop those glide bombs on Ukrainian targets, which, though having somewhat dodgy accuracy at times, have managed to hit and destroy some key Ukrainian targets. So these are quite important aircraft. Now, 3 Su-34s. Again, I am surprised to see just 3 of these deployed here. These are Russia's primary strike aircraft, entering service in 2014. As mentioned, these can also launch glide bombs, so 3 of these plus Su-35s isn't a overly massive strike force to launch these fab glide bombs, considering aircraft need time in maintenance and that sort of thing. You'd have to think the strike bomber force would be a key target once ATACMS arrives. I would say the strike bombers definitely are more important than the fighter jets. While the fighter jets carry out an important role, we don't really see much air-to-air action now, so the strike bomber force will take precedent, I think. Next up, Catcher Air Base, shown here. This airbase, even on Google Maps imagery, looks to be partially abandoned. An aircraft has been confirmed to be here, one solitary, lonely Mi-8. Now, I wonder if there's some sort of storage depot or headquarters here, and the Mi-8 is base here to support that, as it seems odd to have a base for just one solitary helicopter, especially in close proximity to Belbek. Saki is next, better known as Novofedorivka. This is the one which Russia hit hard last year, destroying multiple aircraft in a strike, which still hasn't been confirmed as to what was used, if it was drones, missiles or sabotage. Here we can see there are 8 Su-24s, 13 Su-27s or Su-30s and a pair of MiG-29s. Again, we're seeing some of the older MiGs deployed here, possibly to provide additional coverage because the more modern fighter fleet is getting stretched thin. This is officially home to the 43rd Naval Assault Aviation Regiment, flying Su-24 and Su-30. So I think it likely those aircraft which are identified as either Su-27 or Su-30, or more than likely Su-30s. And as you can tell with this Google Maps image, this is a big airbase. We've looked at the Su-30 and MiG-29, so let's take a look at the new aircraft seen here, Su-24, an old tactical fighter bomber from the 1970s, but despite its age, still widely used by Russia. With confirmation of these carrying out combat operations around southern Ukraine in Zaporizhia and Kherson, but they also fly combat air patrols over the Black Sea as well. Russia claims, and I know those words are usually preceded with complete twaddle, and that's very likely true this time as well. But we claim Su-24s used to intercept 6 Ukrainian marine boats in September using RBK-500 bombs. Again, it's a Russian claim, so take it with a hefty shovel of salt. Finally, Vardoskoye Air Base, home to 5 Su-24s and 5 Su-27s. Smaller air base than a couple of the others, located in central Crimea, officially home to the 37th Guards Composite Aviation Regiment, who fly Su-24 and Su-25. Going back to this graphic here, a couple of things jump out to me. First, I covered the presence of the MiGs here already, which weren't really officially deployed in Crimea before the war. But most of all, what jumps out is the low number of Su-25s, just 4 are present, based at Zhankoy. And as we just saw, the 37th Guards based at Vardoskoye also supposedly operate the type, yet none were seen there. Just 4 Su-25s providing close air support around Zaporizhia and Kherson isn't many. I wonder if that's a sign that Russia is running low of surfaceable aircraft of that type. 30 are up on Oryx so far. Russia had 192 in service last year, so really they should have plenty to spare. However, after getting close to 2 years of war, those older airframes are bound to be feeling the strain of it. So it wouldn't surprise me that these high losses, coupled with aircraft needing repair and maintenance, means there just isn't enough of these flying at the moment to provide ample coverage. Su-25s are flying from other bases too, out in the north and the east. It could also be that we're seeing Su-25 operations reduced purely because they don't really do much, so some of the airframes were dispersed elsewhere. The Su-25 is a good aircraft, but Russia has taken to using them further back than they should, firing the rockets at a longer distance away at an upwards angle. This increases the range while decreasing the accuracy of the rockets to avoid the Su-25s from entering manpad range. So we could be seeing now that the bulk of close air support operations are carried out by the Kar-52 fleet instead. Back to the graphic, you can see there's a very sizable force protecting Crimea. A good mixture of transport helicopters and attack helicopters. A good mixture of fighter jets and attack aircraft. And these aircraft can cover much of southern Ukraine and the Black Sea. Now, that's the end of the video, but before we finish, I'm going to play a message about a fundraiser for the Ukraine Volunteers Centre. We've done fundraisers for these guys in the past, and we've done some amazing work, so big thanks to everybody who donated. I appreciate it a lot. Thanks very much, and take care everybody.
Good afternoon, greetings from the Ukrainian Volunteer Center. Today we are announcing a new fundraising. One Volkswagen Touareg car for paramedics from Donetsk direction. They desperately need a car as all their vehicles were damaged during the last attack on their position. Car price is $10,000 and 1,000 liters of diesel fuel for 3rd Separate Battalion of Ukrainian Volunteer Army Volyn, because there is a catastrophic lack of fuel. The fuel at war is like a blood that circulates in the logistics artery. Without it, we won't be able to achieve our goals. Floor price is $1,500. Recently, soldiers from aerial reconnaissance on the Zaporizhzhia direction contacted us, and they need a mast for the antenna to fly longer. Mast price is $300. Also, a pharmaceutical company contacted us from abroad, and they are ready to send us 200 first aid kits, and its price $1,200. The overall goal of the fundraising is $10,000 and $4,000. We read your comments. That's why we have decided to make two short of glasses sets, and the first one will be sent to the person who will make the biggest donation, and the second we will send to a random person who will make a donation starting from $20. Thank you all of your kind words in the comments. Thank you for your trust, and thank you for your support. Glory to Ukraine.